pompous children wouldn't have been regular guests in the area of yellow roofs, where they had fun, often taking advantage of the fact that they were immune to the threat of the local guards. That's how things had been in the time of Hadjar, and that's how they remained in the time of Primus. If even Hadjar, who'd held all the power in his country, hadn't been able to handle the nobles, then the current king had no chance. He was a puppet that danced to the imperial tune, which played mainly for benefit of the officials and nobles. Farther still, beyond the second ring of fortress walls, was the poor or outer district, with its green roofs. It was always dirty, stuffy, and overcrowded. Street vendors shouted at each other, messy signboards squeaked in the wind, and no one had done any maintenance on the roads for a long time. It was difficult to even see the pavement underneath the layer of dust, dirt, and garbage, which people dumped right on the sidewalk. Their waste should have been thrown into the drains, but they had gotten clogged long ago, during the rule of Hadjar's father. "I told you that we should have gone through the central gate," Nero said, gritting his teeth. "That way we would have entered the trade district immediately." The former commander of the bear squad was pressing Sarah's hand to his nose. It looked as if he couldn't tear his lips away from the girl's skin. In fact, he was just breathing in her perfume. "There's a long queue at the central gate. We would have wasted several days there," Ralphie replied immediately. "We'd have been late for the celebration." That was the reason they had come to the capital, the masquerade ball in honor of the princess's birthday. She was already 20 years old, and the oldest unwed princess in the surrounding area. The city had been decorated and cleaned in every way for the occasion. Even the poor district stunk a little less than usual. "You should have shown them your medallion," Sarah sniffed, holding a silk scarf up to her nose. "That would be an abuse of power." Despite his talent with a sword, Ralphie was a very naive young man with an oddly innocent world view. Perhaps that's why he had been sent to deliver a message to the mad general. The headquarters had probably hoped that Hadjar, known for being hostile to people sent by them, would end up killing him. "That didn't stop you from shoving your medallion in the face of that guard half an hour ago," Nero continued to grumble. Around them, people with clothes as shabby as Hadjar's own were buzzing about. The former general didn't care. He was also the only one who wasn't pinching his nose with anything and had remained calm. Sometimes Hadjar would thrust his hand into his pocket, take out a silver coin, and throw it to the dirty children. To these people, a silver coin was like the moon itself, distant and mystical. 3 silver coins a year were the average earnings of the poor farmers and street vendors. That's why, when they approached the gate that led to the trade district, the friends were slightly taken aback when the guard said, "Entry fee is 2 silver coins." Hadjar was shocked. Southwind had once told him that such a sum was the cost of entering the central district, not the trade one. However, for Nero and Ralphie, who had recently been to the capital, it didn't come as much of a surprise. Nero just grumbled a little about the added cost. 5 years ago, the guards had asked for a silver coin and 25 copper coins. After handing the money over to the guards, who wore armor the color of a dull emerald, the group entered the trade district. For a moment, Hadjar thought that they had somehow ended up in a different city. They saw clean streets, wide enough for 4 carts or carriages to go down side by side. The neat houses had been built in straight rows, and the people walking along the street were clean, wearing expensive clothes, and smiling. It looked as if they didn't have a care in the world, and were quite confident that their future was bright.